Brought to you by the Every Dollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
Okay, today's question comes from Maggie in Utah. She says, my husband and I are in our early to mid 50s and he plans to retire at 60. I'm not sure when I will retire. We have about $3.5 million in assets. Our children are 16 and 21. When is the right time to sit down with one or both of our kids to go over our assets in case something happens to us? I think our 21-year-old son would not be affected by the news and go on about his life as usual. If we tell our daughter, who's 16, I'm afraid she will get stars in her eyes about all the things she could buy. We don't plan to die soon, but you never know what could happen in life. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I wonder, it's all really going to be based on what your will is and what you plan to do with this money. I mean, obviously, I would not have this set up, John, that if something happened, like if something happened to Sam or I, the kids aren't getting all of this money lickety split.
Correct, right.
It is something that will come in increments at certain age points with other certain things intact. Like to Dave Ramsey's point, you can't be on drugs to get this money, right?
There you go.
And so I'm not sure what your plan is, Maggie, but I want to make sure that's not the case because an 18-year-old suddenly getting $1 million doesn't usually go well.
Yeah, I'm reading this as she's wondering, when do we sit down and tell our 16 and 21-year-old that we have $3.5 million in assets, and here's how we're going to divide this up.
And to my point that I'm trying to make is I want to make sure they have the right plan in place first, so that when they do tell them, it's not, hey, and by the way, when you're 18, you're going to get $1 million. So I think the way to avoid stars in the eyes is to say, here's what's going to happen. Like if we were to pass away, here's what would happen. You would be gifted the money to pay for school. And at this age, you'd be given the money to have a down payment on a home. And at this age, you'd be given, and walk through it so that at every point in time, it's you're receiving this money and here's what it's for, as opposed to, and you're just going to be Scrooge McDuck rolling in bills, right? So I think it's all about how you have it set up, how you speak about it. And truly, all of this is about what you've been teaching over time, right? From the time they were 8 years old, or younger, about how to handle money. And so the hope is that the 16-year-old will have some level of, okay, and as she gets older, even more level of, okay, I have to be a manager here. This is not the key to unlock my whole life, and I get to be irresponsible with this.
Yeah, I think the age appropriate is the words that manage here. And quite honestly, I would not sit down. It depends on your 21-year-old. I think I would tell my 16-year-old that, hey, if mom and I, something happened to dad and I or mom and I, you're going to go live with so-and-so until you turn 18. Mm-hmm. And we've put together some things. They would sell the house so that you can afford to go to school. Mm-hmm. And what else? Like, they'll sell the house and you'll be taken care of, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
The details don't need to be talked about.
21-year-old, I think a little bit more. Hey, if we ever passed away and you wanted to keep this particular rent house, we'll talk about that, but you'll let us know, and we'll begin to slowly balance those things out.
Yeah.
My 14-year-old knows if mom and I were to die, we have some things that would sell that we'd take care of his schooling, and he'd be going to live with so-and-so.
Yeah.
My 8-year-old knows you're going to be going to live with so-and-so.
Right.
Like, it's just age specific.
I think Rachel Cruz says, share, don't scare.
That's right.
And I like that.
So sitting down with your 8-year-old and being like, one day mom and I are going to die. Like, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Letting them know, hey, we have a plan. If something ever happened,
you're all good.
We're going to be okay. And we want you to just be able to be sad. And then Rachel and Dave has been pretty open about his story. They didn't know the full extent. They knew mom and dad were well off. They did not know really Dave Ramsey well off.
Yeah, big pockets.
Until they had graduated and they were married and they were moving on with their lives. And then they sat them down, but they had a detailed plan. And then there's some different levels of specifics you can get into there. So share, don't scare, and developmentally appropriate. I don't know that the dollar amount, I don't know that you ever need to sit down and go through each detail. Unless you want to say like, hey, this house right now is worth about this.
Oh, I think at a certain age, I probably would.
Yeah.
Like depending on your wealth.
21, 25?
Yeah. I mean, to Dave's point, they have a rhythm for them it's yearly. I
now
think.
They do now. Yeah.
But like depending on what that is, maybe it's every couple of years. You're like, hey, as you see big changes in your wealth or in your estate, whatever that is, it might be worth it to do that. But I think as much transparency as you can at the right age is a good thing.
Yeah, kids want to know. Are we going to be okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what, are we going to be taken care of? I think she's right to think, if you tell a 16-year-old, hey, if we die, you get $1.7 million.
Bro, sleep with one eye open. I wouldn't tell them.
I ain't telling a 16-year-old that. You're out of your mind.
Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.